as well as Galeforce Esports. Is there a lesson to be learned here from that?
I think they're playing their own style. I think, yeah, exactly like how you said is how I would have said it. There's a lesson to be learned. Play to your own comfort, be fresh, form your own ideas. And I know from speaking with Glorung, that's exactly how he views the game. He says, we happen to share the same views as Europe and Korea, apparently, on many things. And apparently, on many things, they don't. They have their own ideas, they're stubborn, and that's a key part of star players and a star team.
Yeah, it seems Team 8 has taken that approach since the very beginning of the first week of HGC here in 2017. Even more so in the 4th and 5th week. They've had this creative style that has been almost adoptive of both EU and Korean meta, slightly here and there. And it's good to see that they are taking the resources that are available to them, VODs, other regions, drafts that are floating around, and saying, you know what? That hero looks okay here for our type of shot calling.
It is always their own game, like you said. They've, even though they're going in this sort of splayed out all over the place influence area, it's always their opinion that matters. It's always the team opinion of what is best, what we play best with. And we've already mentioned a lot of comfort picks in this draft for Team 8, and they've shown throughout this that their own style has netted them to so far be the most successful NA team here, and very nearly take that game #1 off Dignitas.
Yeah, I don't really see that game as a quote-unquote loss. I feel like there was a potential win there. It wasn't like, oh yeah, you know, they lost that game. They could have won it just as easily. I know they didn't, but it's worth as much. Yeah.
Well, with that all being said, we're talking about North America here because there is one last North America hopeful left. But then you look at Dignitas, and I feel like Dignitas' style just completely stops how Team 8 plays. Dignitas has always been this team in the HGC that has sat back, reserved, waits for the moment to get the isolation, gets a win, and then pushes and kills the core. They've done it in 3 of their series this year. And Team 8 is a team with their shot calling, where if they get ahead, they suddenly just peel off one member, other 4 start to play reserved, soak experience, just play safe, and they wait for someone to make a mistake on the opposing team. Dignitas does not do that. And that's why it's going to be hard for them to lose this series, right? So hopefully Team 8 can make something happen differently in the late game compared to the past.
Well, Team Dignitas does have excellent punishment, so Team 8 has to be on their toes. We are ready for game #2, so we're headed back to the casting desk.
Thank you very much, Gilly. Game #2 on Cursed Hollow. Team Dignitas going up against Team 8 and a North American team. They looked strong on the first map.
It's going to be really interesting to see this play out for Team 8 in their draft. I mean, obviously, first thing we got to keep in mind here, that the fact there's just no range, period. And, you know, it does fit a lot of their strengths, but that Abathur is just the wild card that we've really never seen from them in the North American scene.
Yeah, and of course, especially when we're talking about a map like Cursed Hollow, you usually are forced to give up a few of the early tributes here, which could lead to an early curse. Around level 10, this is really the important part. Is Team 8 able to grab that level 10 before the 3rd tribute is on the map?
Yeah, it's always so tough there with the Abathur. The positive side is that Dignitas doesn't really have necessarily a dominant laning phase composition, which is typically an absolute must to avoid whenever you have an Abathur in your composition, because it's just so weak here. And we're going to see it's going to be a trade here when it comes to the pressure onto the map, which is honestly a benefit for Team 8. The fact that they lucked out, Dig went all top and they went all bottom, because if you're going blow for blow in the early game with the Abathur on your team, you're successful early game.
Yeah, exactly. It's fantastic for them because what you are trying to do is to skip the part between level 1 and level 10. And the faster you can do that, the better for you, because it means you can rely on Abathur's heroic ability to have 5 bodies in the fight. And they are going for the exchange. Dignitas, on the other hand, they actually say they're a little bit torn here, apparently. Like, they're moving most of their team down to the bot lane where they nearly lost the fort already. The only one staying up top is Falstead for now.
I still would have liked Dig to stick with that strat, even if they went, you know, they weren't losing the race that hard. It wasn't obviously the most successful, but their failure to commit to it. If they open up that map, Abathur is going to gain less soak overall, increases the ability for them to end the game early, because we heard our analysts talking about the deadly later half of the game for Team 8's draft.
Yeah, right now, let's see how exactly Dignitas is going to run this. The Falstead still staying up at the top lane, has the global here. Mid lane being pressured. Yoda, the one who still is defending here, but it's all about the structure damage right now. And we have, of course, with the fort at the bot lane now being completely eliminated, already a slight leading experience for Team 8 so far. Things are looking good.
Yeah, they are. I couldn't get better. It's amazing to see this happen. Dignitas' failure to commit to that fort is very, very surprising for me, because it seems like they would understand, you know, we can open up this game as fast as possible. And I think the thought process was, you know, they're so comfortable with, like, well, they have an Abathur, we should be winning the early game. And when you start doing the math where it's like, oh my goodness, we're not.
Yeah.
And then you start going, well, what do we do? What do we do? And it seems like for the first time in a long while, Dignitas may be panicking on decisions.
Yeah, and I mean, that's like one thing. It could be a slight mistake in the early game that they just like made a bit of a miscall, maybe there was confusion, or it's, as you said, a bit of panic creeping in after the first game was a bit closer. Let's just wait and see how exactly they're going to run it. We have 2 minutes in. Both of the teams are focusing on the Siege Giant camps and the Tribute spawns bot lane, which of course means that it is in favor of Team 8. At this point, the Siege Giants are going to push through the top lane. Therefore, Dignitas eventually will have to either rotate someone top or will just realize that they might lose their tribute at the bot lane. Arthur stays top. Therefore, they have only 4 heroes down at the bottom of the map.
Yeah, Dignitas has had 2 50-50 chances this game, and both of them have been wrong. Like, it's just, you know, something you can't deal with, and it's honestly part of, you know, taking the risk of going to Curse. There is a little of that kind of wild card factor that comes into this game, and right now it has set them behind a little bit in the experience department, but more so just the fact that they failed to get a lead against this Abathur so far.
Yeah, and talking about the 50-50 chance, I know you're not supposed to do math on stream, but that's only 25% that this could actually happen. So for them, not
no math on stream. I like it. Yeah, caster math's pretty bad most of the time, but yeah, you are right in that one. It is going to be 25% of the time that's going to happen here.
In this case, though, talking a little bit about the build tree real quickly, because we have already some adjustments coming in as we see a root over here and a bit of limiting damage, but nothing really too pressing yet. False set. Season Marksman is one of the tools that we've seen most of the time. We had a couple of false set that went into the mage build. In this case, though, on level 4, what we're seeing for him is the Gathering Storm here, and that has to be an adjustment towards the Zeratul.
It is. It's the only tool that can really make you not overly vulnerable to him. That being said, it's pretty easy to outplay compared to Hammer Gains because you go in with the engagement with your W, you're going to teleport out. The minute you break, you wait till the W, you teleport it, you Vorpal Blade back. But it does remove the teleport as because if he stays on top of you, especially after 16, you will take that trade because 5% every tick is a huge shield here for Falset.
The interesting part is that it opens up the 13 talent for the cooldown reduction. You don't have to go Giant Killer with this. You still have the option to get the synergy with the Seasoned Marksman, but considering that you have that level 4 talent, you could theoretically also go for the cooldown reduction. We'll see later on what Dignitas does here, but for now, the fight over Tribute number 2 has started.
Yeah, Molten Core there is going to buy a lot of time, and Glorong has actually moved towards bottom. He was looking to get a pick there on a Snitch. He's actually going to track him down. Snitch, will he be able to make it out? So there's going to be the teleport in. So Snitch has a decent trade with the W still ticking because the teleport didn't commit, but the hat is all it takes, you know.
Falstad down, Abathur take him. And this is fantastic for Team 8. I mean, we've been talking about it. It couldn't be better. They got the first tribute. They're delaying everything here. They're killing Falstad. They gain experience. Yes, they lose the tribute, but they were expected to lose the first two, maybe the first 3 here. They are ahead in experience. This couldn't be any better for them considering the early game and considering their composition.
And now Mene is getting tracked down there by Glorong. He's not going to make it out with that Vorpal Blade, but it costs Glorong not his life. The peel from Justing. Very well done. We'll keep him up, and it just keeps getting better here for Team 8 in this game.
Team Dignitas is getting played to the wall here. I mean, it's only the early game. You can always make that comeback happen. It's not like they're out of reach. But this is exactly what Team 8 was looking for here. Glorong, once again, a menace on the Zeratul.
It couldn't... The mind games that Team 8 has managed to make happen. So, starting at level 1, Dignitas knows that it's going to be... They want to try and match them. And Team 8, traditionally, the bottom lane is where the large group of people go to siege. So Dignitas goes, well, they know that they have a week early, so they're going to try and go up into the top lane. Instead, Dig goes top lane, and Team 8 just goes, nah, we're still going to stick to bottom. Wins that. Obviously, the trib is something they don't have control of, but they come out on top. And then knowing that Snitch is going to be looking to wait until he sees the Zeratul, he waits 30 seconds, and Zeratul's not on top. Then they get the pick. Like, it's amazing.
Look at the situation here. We have nearly level 10 for Team 8. It was actually them that were supposed to struggle to get it for the third tribute. It's the exact other way around. They are still willing to let it go, though. Keep in mind, they don't have ranged here. They can't really poke. The only hero who has a chance is maybe Zeratul jumping in, risking his life, or, of course, Ragnar's getting a bit closer. They don't want to risk that. Instead, with level 10, they go for boss.
Yeah, and you know, talking about the lack of range that exists on the side of Team 8, it really forces them, when they press the go button, they have to go, right? Yeah. There is no poke, there is no delay, see how this works out, but that kind of works for Team 8. That's what we've been talking about the whole time.
Exactly.
They have the go button no matter what the draft is. Like, they win together or they lose together, so maybe that meets their strengths?
Yeah, exactly. They kind of have no back button anyway, so you might as well, right? In this case, though, it's actually really fascinating because so far, the lack of a poke has not had any impact on the game. So right now, they really commit to only fights where they want them. They try to go for the kills. They actually ignore that boss at the top lane completely, and those they should, because their own boss is going for the keep, whereas the top boss is only dealing with a fort.
Yeah, we'll be able to take out that front wall for the pressure. My biggest fear is that Falstad will push with it, though, and Abathur's not necessarily the best defense.
Yeah.
And teammate, you know, they had the idea, they thought they were going to move forward, and I think quickly they realized, oh, with the Falstad, that will gain just as much value because, you know, Yoda on his own on the Abathur hat, it doesn't shield the forts necessarily that high.
All right. I mean, he was looking for the Falstad there. Snitch is taking the safe path. Just, by the way, if Snitch, guys, just look at where Snitch is going. He's going the longest way possible to that bot lane. If he takes one shortcut, he's dead. Zeratul was waiting. He can jump on him. Abathur would be there within half a second. So Snitch really playing it super safe. And this might look like it's nothing at all, but this is exactly the kind of plays that can win you a game. And we all have played Hero League where exactly this, or the opposite side of the run, has lost us a match.
Yeah, we just saw the clone come out there. It was taunted very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Good reveal there from JPL. But it did allow teammate to be able to pick up this tribute, so we're going to sit 2-2.
Also, keep in mind that with Falstad actually moving down, he still has his global active. That's also very important. And as long as we are having the global on Falstad available, Abathur has a really tough time showing himself on the map.
Yeah, it's going to be harder and harder. And Falstad is getting to the point where the season marksman sitting almost at that 50%. That will be able to aid when it comes to the team fighting later on. But until we get to that point, Team 8, the fact they've held on to this, even if they get cursed at this point in time, it's the bosses that is really something to be afraid of for Team 8, and they're already down. Like, a curse is not bad. Abathur actually stops a curse by himself, almost 2 lanes single-handedly. And so you're worried more about the boss plays that come after because Abathur is crippled there and you need to be the fight. But this is a curse that can happen with no bosses. Even if Dig gets this, I think Team 8 is going to feel very comfortable in their position.
And let's not forget, yes, we have a variant and an Arthas to counter the Zeratul, but that Void Prison is still a beast to deal with. So Ragnaros with the follow-up. And then there's always that ETC, which was fantastic so far. There's the Molten Core. This is a cursed tribute. At this point, they are going to look for the fight. And keep in mind, once they start to commit, they have to go in.
Yeah, we're waiting to see when the clone comes out. Molten Core is the only delay here. They're going to wait for that. Ragnaros is now out of that. Dignitas moves up. There's going to be the stun combo. Cleanse comes out, and there's the Void.
The big Void coming in. They're trying to look for the hit, and they're getting it. There comes the mosh pit. Immediately interrupted. Didn't even go off completely, but they get the kill against Falstad even before he has a chance to gust.
Yeah, now look at the rest of Team 8. Their health bar is so low. Howling Blast is going to connect their butts. Looks like he's going down with the mosh pit. He's going to get the peel. 3 people are stuck in it. Can they get the kill? Prismat with 1. Zalia now with the last man standing here. 3, 4 people dead. That mosh pit justing. He cannot get it on this ETC. His mosh pits are insane.
Unbelievable. First mosh pit interrupted actually on his 10-second cooldown. Then they jump on Rhaegar. All of a sudden, everybody clustered up and he says like, boys, I got this. Goes in, gets the mosh. The damage is there. And bam, 6 kills against 1. We still have 2 heroes down. The curse against Dignitas and Team 8 is on the move.
The worst part about this is Abathur during a curse is probably one of the strongest heroes in the entire game, period. Like, what he's able to do when it comes to the pressure onto the map purely from his Locust, from his hat, his soak. Hold on a minute, taunt, combo.
Fly in, Falstad, the gust is there.
Are they going to get this, though? That's Sulfurous Smash, so Prismaticism kind of accepting his fate here, but Dignitas, again, not sitting back and peeling, or looking for that side soak on those, with this curse. I think it's going to be okay for Team 8. They're comfortable with that 1 loss. It's losing a bit more than that can really set them too far behind. But again, Abby does so well here.
Oh, Glorang. Yeah, he goes in, gets a little bit of help of Abathur. He had no kill, but they are putting more and more pressure onto these lanes. Arthur's up at the top, trying to defend. And we have a 1-level lead, Dreadnought, for Team 8.
They've managed to open up the map a reasonable amount. If they can set their eyes towards that mid-fort, that will clear a lot of free rotations, and suddenly the map becomes a playground here for Abathur, going anywhere and everywhere to push that pressure out. Yes, Snitch has done a good job with that side soaking, but Glorang has put enough fear of the Zeratul into his eyes that I don't think, you know, he's going to be hunting the worm anytime soon.
Yeah, talking about the worm, level 20 is going to be absolutely amazing for them, considering that he's going to have the double symbiote there. So with this front line, that's going to make a huge difference. Right now, though, let's see how exactly Dignitas is going to play this. Boss is up again. Dignitas is very well aware that we are going to see a play for boss by Team 8, and they are going for the trade at the top lane.
Okay, so Team 8 just did something very subtle but beautiful. In case you're wondering why they had a boss up and they all just stood there and did not move, they were waiting for Dignitas' boss to spawn. And they all stand around the boss saying, if they start it right away, Dignitas could know 8-second gap, we're going to defend, they can't fight us underneath their own boss. But when you sit there and wait until the secondary boss spawns, if nobody's shown, the odds of them just waiting on their own respective one, it's just heads up, safe play. And these are the things that if Team 8 is going to be successful, they have to keep doing. And so far, luckily here on Curse, they have, I don't think they've missed a point when it comes to that. The smart play, the thinking about what does Dig want, what do we want, and they've really been able to reap so many of the rewards in this match.
So far, they have played an excellent game here. The thing is, though, that if they make a mistake, Dignitas will be ready for it. We saw that on the last map. It looked good for Team 8. It was a little bit more of a scrappy series, but still. Now we have bosses going for both of the keeps. The big difference is the Molten Core, though.
Yeah, being able to buy that time, but ultimately, the boss on the opposite side of the map here is only going to be able to get half that keep, but it's going to... That's an Abathur dream there. In the long run, if he can keep that pressure onto that bottom half of the map, especially tributes up top, Yoda alone might be able to secure the keep here for Team 8.
And we're reaching the late game. This is exactly what Team 8 wanted. They were supposed to have the weak early game where Dignitas can get a lead, and then Team 8 was trying to come back and really just roll over them. The exact opposite has happened. The lead has been taken by Team 8. They are now moving into their safe zone, their comfort zone, where their composition is gaining a lot of momentum here. And once the level 20 is reached, Dignitas will have to be extremely careful. This is not an easy game for them by any means.
Yeah, and when I was talking about Cursed and how I thought maybe, you know, Team 8, if they can get somehow Dig to the Cursed at some point, Team 8 originally liked Cursed Hollow a lot in North America, and they had very mixed results. Not necessarily, when you look at the numbers, not their best map by any means, but it seems to fit their playstyle. A lot of Glorong's heroes open up here, and it just seems like it's more, you know, that all-in style play, looking to get Glorong onto those very high-impact heroes, and I think it shows here against Dig.
Yeah, we have also Season Marksman still not completed here. We have the Giant Killer on level 13. We have on 16, then of course him going straight into the Airy Gust, and at this point he is going to need that little speed boost. Yoda on the copy with Zeratul. Zelia on the other hand in a bit of trouble here, trying to pin ETC to the wall. There's the mosh pit. After they cleanse, they put him into a corner. He tries to get some value out of his heroic ability. Doesn't happen. Ancestor goes through, but had no chance to take ETC, but they get a counter kill.
And the Void lets them split the damage here, but Glorong going back in. It looks like Dignitas here is just cleaning up. Reset after reset for Mene is going to lead to a 4-for-2 trade. Dignitas, and they get to pick up the Curse. Best part is they can wait for their teammates to spawn, or they can decide to lock it in now, or at least rid of all the pressure onto the map. They all the time in the world to cap this.
Really tricky spot there. Isolating the ETC, putting him into a corner. They cleanse go through, but we had no Ancestral.
Yeah, sorry, I'm focused right now on when this best time to capture this Curses. I got a little distracted there for a moment. Do you wait for your whole team, or do you cap it like halfway through right now? You removed all the pressure, the Knights, you know, the Giants on top. That made the most sense, but it looks like Dig is actually going to wait for the entire team to spawn on both sides. Look to take a 5 versus 5 on that Curse.
There's no bosses to be taken, so at this point they just want to apply as much pressure as they can. They can apply the most pressure when the heroes are back. Falsa is having a big impact since he can fly in, so they can use the global a bit to their advantage. It sort of amazes me still. He was not on cooldown on the Ancestral. If he gets the cleanse through, it really felt like he should have been able to at least get the Ancestral also in there.
Yeah.
Maybe he just moved out of the range when he was trying to turn for the mosh pit.
Or maybe a little bit scared. I think that Arthas had a pretty aggressive positioning upwards that, you know, if he moves in for that, it sacrifices his own life. And debatably, you know, those supports is more valuable because they wouldn't have gone anywhere near even in that trade if he had overextended to secure the life of ETC there.
And losing all heroes there, of course, brought not only Dignitas back into the game, they are the one who's going to take the lead now. We're seeing them just crush through that mid lane. They gain a lead in experience.
Double
ever so
back
tiny.
during the keep.
But the keep snipe, as you already said at that bot lane, the double Zeratul with a copy on Abathur.
And it looks like they'll be able to pick this up. Yoda is wearing the damage, so he's going to be fine. Glorong will get this and be able to back. And so and the Molten Core to buy time here for Team 8. This is a big power play. The swing and the Sulfura Smash is going to be dropped.
Yeah, that was a pretty big commitment there. Oh, JPL trying to just charge in with the variant, but they can't get a kill on it. There is still that keep. Abathur is helping out a little bit. Zeratul, of course, he's back, but they still have to sacrifice it. So we have one keep down for each team.
And considering that, you know, Dignitas has the curse and they end up only getting a keep, and, you know, Teammate obviously not having that curse and they got a keep, they're going to be just fine. Again, a situation where Dignitas gains something, but Teammate is doing a good job to make sure they go even here. And now we are closing in on those 20s. The tributes, dead even. The keep count, dead even. It's not true, actually. Dignitas getting the double keep there, but still, it's a close game that we have here. I think a lot of this is going to come down to bosses, and when it comes to boss control, the Gust scares me more than the Void. Talking about bosses here.
Yeah, there we go. 20 isn't there yet, but it should be in time. Abathur could actually jump on lane and get a bit of experience, but there we have it. And now it's time to take that fight. This is a crucial one. If you win this one and you're Dignitas, you win the game, very likely, unless you lose too many heroes. And there we go. We have immediately also Malfurion with his own ult. Does he get any value? Zeratul is already down. Glorang is that is huge. Justin tries to go for the mosh pit. It gets interrupted though. No chance of dropping it. And this is just Dignitas rolling over Teammate at this point, taking them down one by one. Varian is falling, but that is not enough to secure victory here for Teammate.
A very high-risk play here for Teammate. If it works, that was game. If it doesn't, in fact, it is going the opposite way here. I can respect the decisions there, but in the end, you know, Dignitas, the ability to outplay, specifically the Twilight Dream, Bakery there predicted the fact that Glorang was going to look for that flank once they saw him. The minute he moves in, Twilight Dream was the reason they weren't able to move in and save him, and Seshal was not going to land. And so huge plays from Bakery ends up getting him game 2.
Shutting down that mosh pit was so important here. That was absolutely the key moment for sure. If that lands on 3-4 heroes, then this is over. But as is, Dignitas moves to the left on the map and they take down the core of Team 8. Great series played here. Team 8 with an unusual composition, making it work, making it look good. But at the end of the match, it is Team Dignitas that takes the 2-0 lead in the best of 5.
Yeah, and it's really going to test Team 8 if they have it in them still at this point, because we know that there are projections for where they fell. A lot of it was feeling out where do we fall compared to the rest of the world. Hopefully we can be the best for North America. They've managed to make that happen. It feels like now it's just how much can they get, and I hope that means that their mentality is going to be fine to still put up a great game, number 3, possibly 4, and you know, in a rare situation, maybe in 5, but at least not getting down after games 1 and 2.
They're definitely keeping up in the early game. They're looking strong there, but the late game, that's really where it matters. And the team fights that we've seen in the late games, in both of the games so far, they just go to Dignitas, and with the death timers being so high at that point, Dignitas can just turn it around, take down keeps, take down the core, and gain this 2-0 lead that we're now seeing here, as we're going to head into the third one pretty soon. As you said, it's a rough situation for Team 8 right now. Dignitas, on the other hand, they know that they have 3 match points.
Yeah, Dignitas obviously has got to be feeling great in this position, and hopefully it's going to be aid them if they move on to, you know, to get the momentum behind them, because this has been probably the weakest LAN performance we've ever seen out of Dignitas.
And we're going to head into that third game in just a moment, but before that, we're going to hear once again from our analyst panel about this second map.
Team Dignitas fan in the audience hoping for a Dignitas 3-0, and they're one game away from getting just that and a rematch versus Misfits. But man, that game came down to one moment, Grubby.
Yeah, the Ancestral Healing hits. Team 8 wins the game.
Yeah.
So first smash hits, Zeratul stays alive, Team 8 is in full health, the Ancestral Healing doesn't hit.
Zeratul dies. And they lose everything.
We're going to see that moment in just a bit, but first we're going to check out the first fight. This was so good for Team 8 because they finally were able to get a Curse Toucher.
They were even able to very nearly get the mosh. You can see it was interrupted, put on the 10-second cooldown there, gets silenced. Like you said, they were able to put themselves in position for the tribute. They're just moving back in to try and take it because they think heroics have been popped, but ETC with the mosh pit. So many heroics were used. There's 3 heroics that can interrupt him here, and he still gets it. And Team 8 are able to clear up.
Yeah, the entire team of Team 8 is starting to get a few playmakers on their arsenal of players, right? You got Justin with these random mosh pits are going off. You have Prismatic with the Ragnaros. If this team continues to really bring out more heroes and get their hero pool fuller, I'm scared for the next clash. But nonetheless, this is a big engagement at the back. Look at Zeratul. If Zeratul gets hit by the Ancestral Healing, he lives and can turn that fight around. But great focus by Dignitas. They turn it around. Justin goes in for the last attempt, but that was already called before they went in. The decision was made. We're going all in for this. We either win or we lose. That's Team 8. And it's crazy to think that Dignitas is currently up 2-0 right now, but if you saw the games, you wouldn't think that. 2-0 sounds like you're being dominated, but they're not.
I feel like a 2-0. It feels like we're 2-2 at this point with these teams.
Yeah.
That Team 8 have just put up such an incredible fight, but putting up a fight is good enough, isn't good enough. You need to actually close out the game.
Now, Glorong has repeatedly said that this tournament for him and his team is a growth experience. But of course, you want a little bit more. Having said that, though, in terms of being in line with their goal, having it be a growth experience, I think this is the perfect barometer for their experience so far. They lost these games 49 to 51%, not 10 versus 90.
Matt, Team Dignitas' punishment has been amazing. Just one move is all it takes, Trixler.
Yeah, that's what they excel at. That's what we talked about before the match. Dignitas, when it comes to the late game, they just know how to win. It's why they've been moving forward, because they're a team themselves that are kind of getting their groove down once again, the newer player. Granted, I'm not going to bring up Zelly as a new player. He's already fit in with this team. But there is some small stuff that they have to work on to become the level of Fnatic and Misfits. But what they do have is when they get to the late game, they know how to say, all right, here's how we win. We're going to go win the video game now. But I think if you're a fan of North America, I think you can be happy with the performance a teammate is putting on today. It's kind of hard to be in a region and kind of be disappointed in your teams that you have to look at, but I don't think you can be disappointed in teammate right now.
Oh, absolutely not. They have been playing so well, and they're not out of it yet. They still have this next chance. They are down 0-2. We want to hear from you before we take this break. Use the hashtag HGC. Tweet at us. Let us know what you're thinking. We are going to a short break. When we return, we'll have game number 3 of this best of 5.
teams are the toughest frag magnets in the galaxy. But when they're in trouble, guess who they call? Medic! Winning a battle is more than just shooting enemy soldiers. It's about saving your own. I protect every member of my squad with my life. Sometimes I think I'm the only thing holding them together. Who am I? I'm Lieutenant Morales. I'm your medic. I'm gonna need a lot of bandages.
Team Dignitas is one win away from a rematch versus Misfits in the lower bracket finals. Guys, teammate, last game, they chose to go for the first pick. If we see that again, what map do you think we will see Team Dignitas want to pick, Tetcher?
I would say Towers of Doom. They have shown it's a sort of little pick they can pick up where their rotations are dominant on it. So I would not be surprised if that's what they do go for. And we're about to find out.
Teammate probably wanting Brax's holdout, though, if they do go for the choice. It's by far one of the most successful maps. Inferno Shrine is the other one that they do enjoy. And then Dignitas actually decides to take Teammate to Inferno Shrine. So Teammate heavily valuing that first pick, obviously still wanting to have that Ragnaros.
Dignitas did show in the last game that they were still very comfortable in a more macro-style game. So bringing Team 8 to Infernal Shrines is still fine. They're forcing them into a more standard game.
This is basically Dignitas' map of choice. Anytime they have a choice, they have a very traditional approach here to the fight. They like heroes like Gul'dan, Jaina, and Kel'Thas for melee. They like to just really focus on the wave clear, do well in the department, go for the team fight. Because I think if there's one thing that makes Dignitas better than Team 8, it's their team fight and their team fighting synergy and experience.
Trixler, would you say that a lot of the comfort picks for Team 8 also would apply here on Infernal Shrines?
Yeah, Ragnaros in particular. I mean, what battleground is he not good on? But yes, Ragnaros obviously works out a lot here. You still have the strategy that really works out for Team 8. When they get to the late game, like I mentioned before, they decide, all right, 4 of you to sit in middle lane, and Glorong Show will go top lane and try and bait someone out of position. I just don't think Dignitas will bite for that. That actually happened last time when we saw the double Zeratul go to the bottom lane and grab the keep on Cursed Hollow. But Dignitas realizes, okay, if they're doing the normal Team 8 thing, we just push up the gut and get a keep ourselves. So Dignitas and Team 8 here as we go into the late game, it'll be a good one. Immediate ban here on Gul'dan for Team 8. To be honest, there's been some crazy fights that I feel like Mane has won by himself with the Horrifies.
I would absolutely agree, and just targeting Mane is interesting in himself because he definitely has picks that he prefers on this map. It's any of those mages. So if Team 8, if Dignitas don't pick one of them here, Team 8 could in theory pick one of themselves and ban out the third one and limit Mane's picks a little bit. He still has a big enough hero pool to still pick something really good, but he's going to lose a lot of his preferences.
Dignitas on Infernal Shrines have been known to run Kerrigan. Kerrigan seems to be a kind of a hero that preys on the weak. I don't think they can see Team 8 as weak in that regard anymore. It seems risky, but they have run it very well. JPL used to play it when he was still an assassin. Now, of course, it would be Zelia. It's an option to think about. And with JPL's strongest warrior, I think this tournament being Tyrael, that's an option as well.
It is. Running Tyrael with any kind of those exceptionally good at shrine clearing heroes, which would be Kerrigan, and a bit to a lesser degree, I saw a small resurgence, but not so much anymore, the Sonya, would still be quite strong to see, and it can at least wade into the Ragnaros. For now, though, priority on Bakery and a Falstad. Now, this is something Mane can play, something Snitch can play. They've left themselves very open here.
Yes, they have. Over to Team 8.
So this is not the usual Dignitas approach for Infernal Shrines. Against Misfits in the second game, they went for a Kerrigan Gul'dan composition. And against Team 8 in the first match between them, they went for a Zarya composition with Kharazim. Double support, very 5 versus 5 focused. And Falstad kind of breaks away from that.
Yeah, I think they're just prioritizing Falstad a little bit more than normal because of what we've mentioned about the Team 8 in the late game. So it makes sense for them to grab that Falstad and not allow for it to slip on through. Team 8 on the left side now has a chance to grab their picks. I actually want to see Varian here instead of ETC. Although we've had some insane mosh pits, we've also seen some pretty strong play from adjusting on the variant. Get some isolation, get some lockdown setup. You're going to need it, especially around that shrine phase. Diablo is also another option. Here we go. There's Tychus, and we have Rhaegar picked up first for Team 8.
Yep, we were just approaching a ban phase, so banning out the support that Buds may have wanted could have been a nice move by Dignitas, but Team 8 not letting it happen. Now, Team 8, they do still have options for heroes for Glaurung, for example, so maybe Dignitas would want to ban out the Zeratul to prevent that lovely wombo combo and the potential for picking up Malfurion from the backline.
Now in Team 8 versus Nomia on Infernal Shrines, they ran Ragnaros, Rhaegar, Gul'dan, and then Dahaka and Varian. It could look like that a little bit here. Instead of Gul'dan, they have Tychus, and then with the double warrior, that would settle Varian and also the hero choice here for Glaurung in Dahaka. It will also match Falstad's split soak a little bit with Dahaka.
Okay, there's a Jaina ban. I was going to say, I think Zeratul or Jaina had to get banned out for Team 8 because Dignitas had the full EU option of going into Zeratul and Jaina, and Zelia can run Zeratul, and of course there's this guy named Mene. He kind of likes Jaina a little bit.
But he's good at mages.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's
We haven't
kind of
mentioned
alright.
that yet.
This could be a Kel'Thas game then.
Yes, this is what I'm thinking at the moment. Like we said, he can play Falstad if he really needs to. But giving that to Snitch would be fine. We could see Zelia on a Zeratul single tank game and have them run the Kel'Thas and just get that huge burst damage after a VP if they can get the root from Malfurion underneath it.
Yeah, it's also perfectly fine to follow up a Void Prison with an empowered Gravity Lapse, get 3 people in that long-term stun, follow it up with a Burned Flesh Flame Strike, empowered with Convection stacks. Very powerful here. And there has been target banning against Mene. It's the 2 favorite mages for him here.
Arthas can be an option still on this battleground too. There's the Tiro you were talking about earlier, Grubby. Now, will Dignitas move into their double warrior? There's a Kerrigan you mentioned as well.
Wow, they do go for it. It's a bold move.
So now it is the question of whether Snitch is going to be the one playing the Falstad or whether Mena will be, because Zelia will be playing that Kerrigan and the Tyrael can be played by JPL. Team 8 now, they need some kind of counter-engage because Tycho's Grenade is probably not going to be enough.
Yeah, the Medivh ban was very smart if you're planning Kerrigan. Zarya is an option here to mitigate some of her burst damage. I really don't know what else you would go. Medivh and Tassadar are gone. The final shielder would be Tyrael and Zarya.
Well, they just go for their double tank lineup here, and it is scary choosing the Diablo over the Varian, which does offer them a bit more shrine clear, so that could work out in their favor, especially if they can force Kerrigan off of it.
Diablo also gives them a little bit of control with Kerrigan. After you get some souls built up, it's actually very hard to do a combo into blowing up a Diablo. So you can still have the engage afterwards, and then you have Dahaka go in for the rotation. So I like Diablo here a little bit more than Varian, just based on the full robustness that he brings in. But with Varian being brought up, Dignitas, what do you go for? I think you need a little bit more damage overall. So I'm thinking, could we have Kel'Thas?
It's either Li Ming or Kel'Thas here.
Yeah.
Anything else would be such a huge surprise. These 2 heroes are both comfortable. Kel'Thas is more traditional on this map because he just does more wave clear. But Li Ming capitalizes on combos and tries to just snowball the fight.
When I last spoke to Dignitas yesterday, I spoke to Mena from one side, was just going from one side to the other when they were getting ready for a game, and Mena literally asked me Chinese whisper style to go to JPL and ask him to play Kel'Thas, and he's finally got his wish. Kel'Thas locked in.
This is an old favorite for Mena. He used to run it all the time, and he's been wanting to run it for a while. The problem is they feel like Jaina's a bit stronger in the meta that we've had for the last couple of patches. So now Mena gets his KT back, and he better have an outstanding performance because you know he wants to let his teammates know, give me KT more often.
It's very important here that Buds from Team 8 has proper Rhaegar control. He can get zoned by Holy Ground, he can get comboed by Kerrigan, and there's nobody that's going to save him. There is nothing that can peel for him except maybe an Apocalypse, but Sanctification removes that. There are no extra shields. The biggest responsibility of the tournament so far for Buds to keep his team alive. And for the rest, they have a very cool comp, lots of frontline, lots of damage.
With elimination now on the line for Team 8. Grubby, we'll start with you. Your predictions. Can Team 8 get the win in this game, or will Dignitas get a 3-0?
In both Game 1, Gilly, and in Game 2, Team 8 has impressed me. They have surpassed what I thought was possible with their heroes and with their draft. I'm not going to underestimate them again. Even though they're down 0-2, they could have won either one of those other 2. I'm going to go with them for this particular map.
I disagree. I feel like in the late game, Dignitas has shown time and time again that they know how to close out games, and they have the heroes they excel at here. I feel like they're going to walk away with a 3-0. I
agree with Trick. I think that giving Meta Kael'thas is going to be exciting, and it can give them the motivation they need to win. And like you said, you're all on comfort heroes, which can wombo together perfectly.
Well, I'm rooting for more games casted by Dreadnought and Kaldor, so I'm rooting for Teammate in this one, and we are ready for game number 3. So we head over to the casting desk.
Never have I seen an assassin being so happy when his heroes are banned out. Finally, we see Mane back on the Kael'thas in the third game here between Team 8 and Team Dignitas.
Yeah, and the excitement on his face, the minute that the Jaina ban came out was just ridiculous there in the middle of the draft. And we've known he's wanted Kael'thas for some time. I mean, Mane has... he kind of brought it back to the meta, right? Like after the rework on the KT, there was a couple of nerfs, specifically going on to the Gravity Crush. And then after that, Mane was like, no, 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 no. It's still really good. And Shrines was the place we saw it the most there. It's just, again, one of those, you know, we talk Mane, the guy who's always on mages, is one of his mains. It's going to be really impressive to watch him play here.
Yeah, and he is going to look to burn Team 8 into the ground on his Kael'thas here. We see him on level 1 with a Fell Infusion. For Team 8, a lot is on the line here, of course. They played 2 very strong games. Good maps, very nice approach here on both of them, but it was always the late game where they struggled.
I thought, honestly, we would see Mane move maybe more into the Mana Addict. It does seem a little bit safer in a lot of the positions here, but Fell Infusion here for Mane. We'll see how the rest of the build is going to go, but their wave cleared, their 4-man, we already see, is very, very dominant here in this game, and Teammate is doing a very patient 2-1-2. It's actually surprisingly common in North America how frequent we have 2-1-2s, even with, it's not like the Chinese style where it's like you rotate, we push, because we don't have that good of pushers. A lot of times we just feel like it's the easiest way to negate dominant 4-man on big maps.
On the other hand, we have Europe playing it very traditional with a false setup at the top lane. 4-man rotation between mid and top, but of course there's always the danger of a Kerrigan making a quick rotation to try and get the kill on the solo lane. And that's actually what's happening as we're seeing an aim moving towards the double lane in the mid and top. We have Zelia at that top lane, and a big gank takes down Ragnaros.
I mean, they didn't even need all their CC. I'm pretty sure Mane just stacked his Gravity Labs on top of his root. Any combo hits. The follow-up here from the composition of Dignitas, you can say bye to that hero, especially if it's going to be Rhaegar. And we know, you know, after watching the very first game, with the Horrifies, Mane's focus on the Buds. Buds here is going to have to be on point.
And at this point, for me personally, I have to say, we've been talking about the Kael'thas, but it is so nostalgic to see Mane on the hero. It is the hero that brought him into the esports scene in Heroes of the Storm. He was a friend of Lowell back then in Team Liquid and Fnatic, and Lowell actually brought him over from World of Warcraft. And the first hero that Mane played that we really excelled at, that we've seen him on in esports, was Kael'thas, and he was a brutal, and he's really happy to play it here. But is that strong enough to take Teammate down? Because they are on their last chance to make it into the next round, and they will fight for every inch here to make that happen.
Yeah, and I mean, we already know it's the Kerrigan effect here when it comes to the Shrine. So let's look at some of the other things going to be happening here. The Falstad, the Haka are in the 1v1, so it's just going to be a pretty even trade here. It's just what happens when the actual Punisher itself spawns. Honestly, Dig doesn't have necessarily the greatest siege. They've always got the Kerrigan kill comp, but outside of that, they don't have that big of a, you know, they don't have the Sylve to open up the map as fast as possible. It looks like we're going to make it to the late game in this game because neither team can really push it. In worst case, you know, Rag's got the Molten Core.
Exactly, and Rag will have to use that pretty soon already. First Punisher moving in, Falstad at the top lane, the Haka with a counter soak, trying to gain the experience here for Teammate as Dignitas moves into that bot lane. Ragnaros immediately on point here with the Molten Core, trying to force them back as they are working on Punisher number 1.
One thing that's interesting here for Bud, or excuse me, Justin there on the Diablo when it comes to his build at 4, going from the shadows. Very common to get the better initiations, but I thought, oh, the combo after the Punisher is going to hit 3 Prismat on a retreat. Will he make it out? No, he won't. Buds will. But Mike, just the follow-up there. We know that the Kerrigan and the Punisher, I can't believe, honestly, Teammate even gave him that opportunity. That leap onto one target, Zelia there with the 3-man combo.
Incredible value for Dignitas. Considering that we have a Ragnaros in the game, I did not see this coming. It really looked like with a Molten Core, Team 8 would be able to defend this easily. But then, as he said, the follow-up as the Punisher goes in for the stun. Zelia sees the opportunity, jumps in, takes them down. And of course, they have the follow-up here. They have Mena, and they have the rest of the team, even the Malfurion with the roots. They can lock them down, take them apart, and that's 3 kills against 0.
And I feel like that combo alone, not even looking at if anything happens here with Prismaticism, is going to snowball this game out of control for Dig, purely based on they already have dominant Shrine control, but then having the KT there with his 7, being able to get that burn flesh onto the opponents. We're talking about a triple melee comp. It's going to gain insane value there for Mene.
Exactly, but Zelia's in a little bit of trouble. He's trying to get out. Diablo's there, controlling the Kerrigan. And this is the first kill for Team H, showing signs of life here. They are down already 1 level, but they're trying to start that comeback. It's not going to be easy on Infernal Shrines, but as long as they can fight on even talent levels, maybe for the next objective, they still have a